Late Monday night, there was a U-Haul truck caught on video smashing, as you see there, into some barricades somewhat near the White House. Close enough that if he gets through, he's making his way directly down that way. And a jogger there that was finishing up a 5-mile run, congratulations, I'm sure Emilio was happy about this guy, happened to catch it on video on that first shot you see there, and he caught the second version of the backup and ran back into those same barricades, which of course were unrelenting and didn't allow him in. CNN has more details of exactly who this, exactly what it is that happened and some of these charges that came from, because they did catch him.
A U-Haul panel truck crashed into a security barrier in Lafayette Square near the White House at about 10 p.m. One witness says the vehicle then backed up and slammed into the barrier again. The driver arrested right away. He now faces charges including threatening to kill or harm the president, vice president, or a family member. Video shows Park Police taking inventory of the truck, packing up evidence, including a flag with a swastika.
Oh, now it's kind of risen in importance and craziness now, because look, not only it looks like he's headed towards the White House, but they say they're charging him with threatening to kill or harm the president, family member, friends, buddies, associates, something along those lines. Seems like some pretty serious charges. So of course, as we go straight into this, who is this? What's the blame game? Whose fault is this? How does this whole thing work out? You know, it could get anything from white supremacists, as we saw from that Nazi flag laid out there on the ground. Maybe it's Antifa, Joe Biden, maybe even Barack Obama. Who knows? It's time to blame and figure this whole thing out or confuse everyone further. It starts here. One Twitter user was all over it from the very beginning. He says, let me get this straight. I want you guys to pay attention the way that this is worded. Let me get this straight, he says. So you're telling me a guy with a Nazi flag and an empty U-Haul truck randomly plowed into a White House barricade at low speeds, then gave up immediately and got arrested, and the FBI laid out the flag in front of the truck for the perfect photo op? Sounds like he doesn't really believe the scenario that's going on there. It's hard to, because nobody knows exactly yet. This is some standard beliefs though when it comes to false flag operations people like to talk about. But there's something that one other Twitter user did notice. CT John Brown Gun Club is what the handle there says. And you see there's 4 different images. And he says there's a right-wing mass insistence that the U-Haul crash yesterday was a false flag or psyop. Meanwhile, there appears to be a coordinated messaging campaign about said crash. But that's totally not anything to pay attention to at all. Here's some of those examples that they put forward there. Here's one of them. I want you guys to remember that first tweet that I just read and think about it when you hear this. You're telling me someone drove a U-Haul with nothing but a Nazi flag in it, tried to ram it into the White House, got stuck on a curb, then the police spread out the flag on the pavement so the media can get it in the shot? The left needed a narrative change, they got it. Keep paying attention to that wording as we look at the next tweet from John Wolfe. If there's some guy named John Wolfe. You're telling me someone in a U-Haul with nothing but a Nazi flag in it tried to ram it into the White House, got stuck on a curb, then the police spread the flag out on the pavement so the media can get it in the shot? The left needed a narrative change. No, I didn't repeat that same tweet. That's another tweet. Guess what? I got another tweet. Read this one. You're telling me someone drove a U-Haul with nothing but a Nazi flag in it, tried to ram it into the White House, got stuck on a curb, then the police spread it out on the flag out on the pavement so the media can get it in the shot with a clown emoji. Oh, that's the difference. Oh, but then the left needed a narrative change. They got it. Either someone has about 105 Twitter handles and it's all coming from the same damn computer, or there's a bunch of people that want people to read the same thing over and over and over again and maybe eventually believe their narrative. Again, no one really fully knows yet, but one thing that they're definitely saying is that this is a false flag operation. And they, I mean by these minions that say the same thing that the first guy said. Maybe they believe what the Mike Wallace or whatever that first Wallace guy was saying. And they're like, I like the way he said it. I'm gonna repeat it damn near verbatim. And I'm just gonna slap a clown emoji on it to make it that much different. Seems a little suspicious, but again, some of those charges, threatening to kill or harm a president, family members, all those types of things. In order for that to happen, one Andrew McCabe, which these same folks probably won't believe, so we'll try it anyway though. He appeared on CNN and he spoke about how those charges maybe came about. Maybe it's a little bit more than that. Let's watch.
The charges alone speak to the intentionality of the act, right? So prosecutors have to have a factual basis to be able to charge this person with trying to attempting to kill or maim the president. They've got to have probable cause to be able to do that. So they have some information or evidence that indicates very clearly that this was an intentional act. That's coming not just from obviously the physical things that we see, the video of the truck ramming the barricade, but likely even from material they collected from within the truck. We've heard that there's been a notebook. There may be writings or statements or maybe postings online, things like that are telling them that this person's intent was in fact to target the president or someone in the White House.
So maybe in thinking of normal legal or charging terms, there has to be something else for them to specifically talk about these charges of threatening to kill or harm the president, family members, and all the rest there. Maybe a little bit more than just a Nazi flag in the back. He mentioned this notebook that had writings in it, which I think to this moment we still haven't seen the details of yet. But the assumptions get made right away. Oh, there's a Nazi flag back there. How dare they assume such a thing? I think they can assume off the top, then investigate and figure out further. There's another angle that many of the defenders of white supremacists and Nazis might have as well. This one woman posted it. She's not the only one. This is just one of the ones that I chose to use. She says, this is the 19-year-old, quote, white supremacist who drove the U-Haul into the White House. Sure. So again, she doesn't really believe that that's what happened, because look at his face. This is the white supremacist. Here's details on that guy. Police identified him as Varshith Kandula of Chesterfield, Missouri. Wow, you guys know I used to live in Chesterfield, Missouri. He was charged with threatening to kill, kidnap, or inflict harm on the president, vice president, or family member, as you guys heard. Also, the official, speaking on the condition of anonymity because the investigation is still ongoing, said that the man was unarmed and no firearms were found in the truck. So maybe we can make these conclusions that the guy maybe had these leanings. Whatever was in those writings maybe gave police more of a reason to believe he was targeting the president and his family and friends or whatever else was involved in that whole thing. But what we also can tell is he was ramming that truck into those barricades, and the assumption that for some reason, the FBI, CIA, President Biden, anybody else that you maybe hate, Hillary Clinton, let's throw her in there too, that they put together this whole PSYOP, false flag operation, with a guy who looks like this, whose name is Varshith Kandula. And then when they did it, that all these folks who assume that it's false flags, no matter what, would go, oh, it's a brown guy, so therefore it must be the case. Or maybe this guy is a little bit off and he does have white supremacist leanings, because I don't know if people realize this. That's possible. In fact, it's happened multiple times. There's reasons why white supremacists like to invite in their one good brown or black friend or Asian friend, anybody else that they really want to use to bring some kind of legitimacy to their hateful arguments. So they'll use it for that case, and some of these folks happily oblige. Whatever it is, still, it's possible. So this across the board, wiping the slate clean just because you think this guy's name and face doesn't fit what you see as a white supremacist, doesn't really hold much water as far as whether or not he had and did the things that they're claiming that he did. Maybe we'll go with that whole thing. They like to say wait and see when children are shot and destroyed in their schools, homes, malls, and businesses around their town too. Maybe wait and see. I don't know, or maybe just go off what we've seen so far now. What we have seen though is what is it that they're claiming people may want to push here. So there's a false flag. I'm gonna go off of one more thought of this whole assumption. There's this false flag that's looking to demonize white people. This is the rest of the thought. There's a false flag out to demonize white folks because we want to make sure they seem like the bad guys in society. How about maybe white supremacists, which we've seen and been documented as the #1 domestic homegrown terrorist form of terrorism in our country? It's white supremacists. So you would think these folks who talk about how much they think white supremacy is bad, racism is bad, you guys keep blaming us and saying that we're racist. If you're not racist, if you have no connection to white supremacists, you probably shouldn't be offended when someone says, hey, these white supremacists keep doing these violent actions. If you have no connection to them, you'd be like, that's right, F those white supremacists. Instead, it's, why do they keep saying it's white supremacists? You seem very defensive when it comes to white supremacists. You don't have to be black, brown, Asian, Muslim, anything to have something against white supremacists. Guess what? You can be a white person and not agree with white supremacy. It's a very straightforward thought process you can have. But for some reason, some of these folks think that means it's an attack on them. I think you're showing your hand. we'll figure out and see where this goes. I'm sure we'll just find out by later on tonight more about this guy and what was in his manifestos or whatever was written in that book, if anything.